Iowa City secrets, weird, spooky, or the quirky kind that make you go, That's what I'm talking about today. Hi there, Emily Farber here, your favorite Iowa YouTubing realtor. I make video content all about real estate, Iowa, and Iowa City. So if that's your sort of thing, be sure to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss out. Did you know there are long lost, abandoned, secret caves and tunnels under your very feet in certain parts of Iowa City? That's right. A century and a half ago, 3 Iowa City breweries used a system of brick and stone tunnels and man-made caves to ferment and transport beer. In order to make beer back in the 1850s, it needed to be kept cold, which was not so easy before the advent of refrigeration. In order to achieve the proper temperature of about 35 degrees, brewers used beer caves and large blocks of ice cut out of the river. There's a network of these old tunnels and beer caves under an area that we now call the North Side District, just north of downtown in Iowa City. Some of these you can still access with special permission, of course, from the owners of certain buildings. Occasionally, beer cave tours are offered. Historians and archaeologists are exploring and mapping out this underground network with ground-penetrating radar to get a clearer picture of what the tunnels and the beer caves were like 150 years ago. Of the 3 breweries, only one of the original buildings remain. The Union Brewery building, which is now called Brewery Square. The Great Western Brewery burned down in a suspicious fire in 1903, and right across the street from it, on Market Street, the Old City Brewery was torn down in the name of urban renewal. Today, the plots of these former buildings are now parking lots by George's Buffet, the Bluebird Diner, High Ground Cafe, and Artifacts, which means there are now old tunnels leading to non-existent buildings. Side note, if you want to read more about Iowa City's beer caves and the violent beer riots of 1884, you should read local author S.C. Sherman's book called Beer Money. You can buy a signed copy right at John's Grocery. You can also get copies at local bookstores like Prairie Lights, or of course you can order online. There are other systems of tunnels in Iowa City too. The longest tunnel system lies beneath the University of Iowa hospitals, which branches off to several buildings, and it is still used by people today transversing the hospital complex. Now, according to Little Village magazine, there's a Civil War era 6-foot-tall brick tunnel that runs from north of Brown Street under Market Park through a buried ravine to the former Mercy Hospital, where it intersects into an 1850s stone box tunnel that heads towards Trowbridge Hall, and then from there all the way to the power plant down at the river. Speaking of what may be going on below ground, let's talk about the building at 13 South Lynn Street, formerly known as the Yacht Club, now home to Studio 13 and Joystick. That building, which was built in 1918, formerly was the Ho and Such funeral parlor, the business place of Iowa's first licensed embalmer, William P. Ho and Such. The basement, where you may have partied the night away, was the embalming room. I'll leave it up to you to decide if the thought of that drains the very blood from your face. For more spookiness from beyond the grave, you need to take a drive to Oakland Cemetery and visit the legendary Black Angel. The Black Angel is an 8.5-foot-tall burial monument for the Feldvert family, originally cast in golden bronze, but now an eerie black color. The story goes that Teresa Dozel was born in 1836 in Bohemia, where she became a physician. Teresa and her son, Eddie, moved to Iowa City, where she worked as a midwife, but tragically, Eddie Dozel died of meningitis at 18 and was buried in Oakland Cemetery. Teresa had a tree stump monument erected on his grave, and then she moved to Eugene, Oregon, where she met and married her husband, Nicholas Feldvert. Sadly, Nicholas passed away in 1911 and Teresa moved back to Iowa City. She hired a bohemian artist from Chicago to design the Angel Monument, which cost $5,000 at the time. She wanted it to cover the remains of her son and the ashes of her husband. Now, there is some disagreement about when the Angel Monument was actually installed in the cemetery, because apparently Teresa had to dispute over the payment for the work that she hired the artist for. She was unhappy with it somehow. Teresa died in 1924, and her ashes are also buried under that angel. Usually, angels on graves are positioned with their faces lifted upward as well as their wings towards heaven. But the black angel is looking down and her wings are not uplifted. The mystery surrounding the angel has to do with its color. What caused it to turn black? One version is that Teresa was a mysterious, unhappy, and evil woman, which is reflected by the dark stain on the statue. Another story is that there was a terrible storm the night following Teresa's burial, and the angel was struck by lightning. There are other stories that blame the black color on infidelity. There's an inscription on the monument written in an old dialect of Bohemian, which has been translated to read, "The sun and clouds stood above my journey. There were tough and joyful days in my life. You did my work just to make the world better. You fold your hands and your head goes down. Your spirit flied away where everlasting reward is waiting for you after hardship." There are many superstitions surrounding the black angel. You may have heard that no university co-ed is a true co-ed unless they have kissed in front of the black angel. Also, the girl that kisses someone near the black angel in the moonlight will die within 6 months. Touching the angel at midnight on Halloween is extremely dangerous and seals your fate to be dead within 7 years. And anyone who dares to kiss the angel will die instantly. Also, every passing Halloween, the angel turns a shade darker as a reminder of all of the people she has killed. Is there any hope? Legend has it that if a virgin, innocent of the world, were to be kissed in front of the black angel, the angel would return to her former golden color and the curse would be lifted. I think there's a lot of kissing happening in front of that angel. And our last spooky Iowa City secret for today are the pest or pestilence houses of Iowa City. The faint remains of one can be found not far from Oakland Cemetery, perhaps by design, which is now within the borders of Hickory Hill Park. Beginning in 1881, Iowa City had a series of homes called pest houses where people with infectious diseases could be quarantined away from others, and this practice lasted until about the 1920s. This was before there were public wards and hospitals where people could be safely quarantined. The city would order people or their families to a pest house once they were diagnosed with a disease, where they would be required to stay and kept under watch until they recovered or otherwise, in an effort to reduce the spread of disease in the community. It seems that these houses were mostly used for people with smallpox. Now, according to what I've read in Irving Weber's History of Iowa City books, which are fascinating if you like this sort of thing, indicate that there were a few locals who had survived smallpox, and the city would hire those people to be caretakers for those that were secluded in the pest house. One such caretaker was Frank Jaworski, who apparently had caught smallpox during the Civil War, survived it, and then was immune. Records show that Iowa City had recorded outbreaks of smallpox in 1855, 1881, 1899, 1903, 1960, 1920, and 1941. The Hickory Hill Pest House can be seen on aerial maps until about 1930, but it disappears after that. there does not seem to be a record of what actually happened to it, whether it was dismantled and torn down or burned down. A study by the University of Iowa Archaeology Department in both the 1970s and again in 2011 found next to nothing at the site. Okay, that's it for my spooky Iowa City history for today. If you like this video and this sort of thing that dives into the history of Iowa City, let me know down below in the comments and I will consider making more Iowa City history videos, maybe even setting up a playlist. Hey, it's been fun and I will catch you later.